a video on growth through hierarchy. We did a video last week about that. Now we're talking about EQ, which is the foundation to it, emotional intelligence, and in particular today it's about self-awareness, or sometimes known as knowing oneself. We'd like just to throw into the conversation that emotional intelligence, a huge body of work on this, and huge subject. We'd like just to talk about it in the context of work. Are you in control of your emotions at work? This is how we'd like to see it, and to frame it as well. So when we talk about EQ, we're saying, are we in control of our emotions at work? Yeah?
Yeah.
So, on the flip charts, just a flow for us to talk to you on the video today. We believe that most important factor in contributing to controlling emotions at work is self-awareness. Okay, I'll repeat that for effect. Most important factor in controlling emotions at work is self-awareness. And a nice quote there, Trev.
Yeah, just from Google, really. Anybody can Google the definitions of these things. I just thought that was quite a nice one. So its definition of self-awareness was just the conscious knowledge of your own character and feelings. So it's about your identity, your character, what makes you feel the way you feel. So it's just a nice definition, I thought, on self-awareness.
So why talk about self-awareness? Why talk about emotional intelligence? Why is emotional intelligence the foundation to management and leadership grow through hierarchy? If you turn it around and think about the negative impacts on not being self-aware, some of the things that you could experience, and certainly I've experienced personally, stress management, how do you deal with that? Do you get stressed? Relationship management, yeah. Have you got good relationships? That's at work and at home as well, because work spills into home. What's your health looking like at the moment? Is stress having an impact on your health management? And how motivated are you for those challenges you've got at work at this moment in time? And probably most importantly, what triggers any one of those states? This is where we start to think about self-awareness.
Yeah, and just to add on to a couple of the points Lindsay's mentioned, particularly in the things like the relationship management, especially in the management positions, about building relationships both with the people you're reporting to, but also the people who report to you. And it's important that you keep good relationships at that level. And it's easy to like people who are just like yourself. So the challenge is to try and be aware that not everybody's like you, and the drivers and motivators are not the same. But it starts with yourself and how you're coming across with those people in those relationships. So I think that's one of the key elements of the self-awareness, is how you're coming across to others, which we'll come on to. And the bit we've got here is just, what does it mean to be self-aware? I think I've asked people before in the past, what do we mean by self-awareness? And most people are not even that sure what it means, because it's not something you consciously think of on a day-to-day basis. Well, I never used to until we started getting involved in this type of stuff. Lots of different things that you can find. Just keeping it simple, looking at 3 key elements of self-awareness. So it's identity, core values and beliefs. So identity, really who you are. So who am I as a person? And the core values is about, really values is just what's really important to you. You sometimes see them seen as life themes or life values. So what is really important to you? And the last one there, beliefs. What are your beliefs in it? Because they don't always have to necessarily be true, because you might be brought up just to believe in a certain thing that's not actually true. But sometimes you see beliefs and values put together. But certainly the 3 of them, identity, values and beliefs, we start developing these things from the day we're born. And some people argue it's even started before that, when you're in the womb and etc. So from the day we're born, we're developing our identity, our values, our beliefs. And people say, there's a school of thought saying when you're in your early 20s, your values and stuff are probably pretty much in place. And it's only through good self-awareness can you then start challenging some of those values and some of those beliefs, to give you a deeper insight into your identity and who you really are. Yeah, so just 3 core elements of self-awareness that we're going to cover in this video.
Okay, so just to bring you back to the context we're talking about, we're saying self-awareness is that most important factor to control your emotions at work and anywhere else for that matter, but we're talking about it in the work context. So there's 3 areas that we'd like to talk about. We've opened that up, and to give some examples, some people believe in a God, whatever that may be, and the values there will be maybe some Christian values, some Muslim values around that, and some very strong beliefs, based around that identity about being a particular religion, etc., etc. It doesn't have to be true, but it is to the individual. Beliefs are that which is true, and we don't question it. Now, if we translate that to something less controversial than religion, and think about a work context, and you might believe that a particular way to behave will get you a set of results, and because you've experienced the results, then it's true. Is there a better way to get a set of results? And the answer is always a better way to get a set of results. So this is now trying to break some of those paradigms that where we think about who we are, what we really value, things important in life, and those beliefs that we need to start shaking them and start thinking about, are these really serving me well? And it links back to the triggers. What triggers do you have emotionally when you're at work, which will bring around some of these negative impacts, stress, etc., etc. So they'll be based around beliefs, values, and your core identity, as Trevor says.
And it's really interesting once you start consciously thinking of these things. It's really interesting to see what makes your identity, why you develop certain values and beliefs, and a lot's written around. A big part of this is linked to parents and relationships with parents, whether you like it or not. But it does, a lot of it comes from that, and obviously what happens after that can moderate or exaggerate, but a big influence is with parents, and it's really interesting to look back and think of what impact what parents had on you, because that can help you understand, certainly when you're trying to be more aware of yourself to this point. So I found that really interesting, making that link and thinking more deeply around that relationship and why we are as we are.
And maybe just some simpler examples as well. If we identify ourselves as a manager, or we identify ourselves as a leader or a supervisor or a line manager or whatever it may be, then you've got to hold true to that. Okay, whatever you see that as being for yourself, you have a set of values around it, and you believe something about that as well. Okay, so the growth through hierarchy, which you see on the screen as we talk, shows a way just to break down what we mean by management and what we mean by leadership as well. So the identity piece and the values and the beliefs around what management is and what leadership is, we can start to fine tune that. But we're starting with the foundation, which is emotional intelligence. Are you in control of your emotions at work?
And because we've mentioned, as you said, the EQ sits as the foundation, and we've said at the very start that the most important element of emotional intelligence, particularly at work, is the self-awareness. So how critical and important it is to be self-aware, because that will give you the understanding of what you possibly need to change or improve, or it can give you a massive advantage in the growth through hierarchy modules, but also the other elements of EQ as well.
Okay, so you want to talk about some advice now?
Yeah, some of the advice that, or the takeaways from today. We've got, again, just 3 things there. So we've got self-assessment tools. There's thousands of them, literally thousands of them available. You can Google them, just put in self-assessment tools, and some of them will measure different things. Some of them are more personality assessments, some are more work preference inventories, some of them are about your communication styles and preferences. Well, just Google them and give them a try. There's loads of them there for free. If you want to get a deeper assessment, you have to pay a small cost, but there's a lot of them out there for free as well. And there's things like we use one we've mentioned before, Harrison assessments. which looks at a whole plethora of different factors, including personality. There's a DISC assessment, which looks at 4 particular areas of personality. There's Insights, which has got a great set of reports. So there's loads of different assessment tools you can use, and it's an excellent way because a lot of the work's done for you in the background. So the algorithms and stuff that they've done to develop the assessment, you just answer the questions as you see them, and then they're sort of figuring some of this stuff out for you. So they're really good, some of them. Important one in the middle there is about listening to others. So getting feedback from others, but not just getting the feedback, it's actually listening to what people are saying. And if you're not quite sure what they mean or you don't necessarily agree with it, then dig a bit deeper and ask them what they mean by that. It's not always nice to hear, but it's a good way of being self-aware, and have a cross-section of the people that you ask. There's a formal approach to this, which is called 360. It doesn't always need such a formal structure. Sometimes it's just pick a cross group of people and just ask them about certain aspects of yourself and how you come across in different situations. And the third one there is about the triggers. Lindsay mentioned it earlier on across here somewhere. It's about trying to recognise the triggers, and the more self-aware you are of what causes the triggers, the better capability you're going to have of trying to prevent the trigger or change your reaction to the trigger. So recognising the triggers is a really important part of self-awareness. Yeah.
Okay, so just to round up for today then, so growth through hierarchy is the theme that we're talking about in this series of videos. EQ, emotional intelligence, the foundational piece of that. And for EQ, said before, what we'd like to say is, are you in control of your emotions at work? That's how we're seeing EQ as our phrase for that. And today, really focusing on self-awareness. And we've taken you through, it's the most important factor. There's some negative aspects to it. And those negative aspects, you will be experiencing those, like we all do. We know that there's some areas that you can have a look at to help. That's identity, core values and beliefs. And Trevor's just been through some advice there. We've added in the listening element. Yeah, you can take some advice or you can write it down, but not really listen to it and do something about that. So really a take home today is we're using a quote from Marshall Goldsmith. We trained as executive coaches a long time ago with that franchise, and there's a book out there, and the title of the book is What Got You Here Will Not Get You There. And we're just paraphrasing a little bit. So what got you here? So you're on the growth through hierarchy, whichever level you're at, what got you here will not necessarily get you to the next level. Okay, so we're just modifying it a little bit, but giving the credit to Marshall Goldsmith, it really means, where you are at this point in time, there's no guarantee that the behavioural range that you've got at this point in time will get you from a management position to a leadership position. Yeah, you need to change the behaviours, and it starts with emotional intelligence, and the key one about being self-aware.
Yeah, it's just coming to my mind when you talked about Marshall Goldsmith. He's listed it as well. I'm not sure if it's in that book or one of the other books, where he talks about the 20 bad habits of leaders and managers. And sometimes you have to see it and read it to think, oh no, God, I'm like that. So sometimes it's good to read some of those habits, because you'll recognise yourself in them. But unless it's put in front of you, you don't always make that link.
Well, that could be a nice link for the listeners as well.
Yeah.
To have a look at that.
Yeah, we'll share the 20 habits, because I'm sure there's some of them in there, because when I look at it I think, oh no, yes, some of them.
It's like the managers and leaders, blooper's reel, isn't it?
Yeah.
All things not to do.
Yeah, I think I stopped at number 8 because I'd ticked most of the boxes. So but yeah, no, it's good fun to have a look through, and it, as I say, it can trigger. You can recognise some of them in yourself probably.
Well, it's again linking back to triggers.
Yeah.
That might be a nice little one that says those 20 bad habits. Well, yeah, I've got a few of the triggers in there.
Yeah.
I'll focus on 1 or 2 of those. That might just help me move through this behavioural range.
And it's all linked, because some of the habits and some of the triggers and everything, it all links back to some of this stuff about who you are and why you're like that. And so it's dead interesting to, once you start thinking about it. It's not easy to get your head around it sometimes in terms of self-awareness, but it's a great starting point when you're looking to control your emotions in the workplace.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers.